Hi, I'm Darius, and what I have for you today is a great story. But first, let me ask you a question. Have you ever wondered what the biggest middle finger given in history ever was? I know it's sort of an unusual question, but we're about to see a little kid who rebelled against his own mother, went and raised an army, fought his mother in battle, won and eventually exiled her out of the country to take over the rest of her territories. Welcome to Vlogs of History. So the story starts in the county of Portugal, located in the northwestern part of the Iberian Peninsula, which today consists of Spain and Portugal. Keep in mind we are in the 12th century, and nation states and countries like we have them today do not exist, so we're not talking about the country of Portugal, but the county of Portugal, which belonged to a greater kingdom, the Kingdom of Galicia. The county was ruled by a man named Henry of Burgundy and a woman called Teresa. They ruled together for many years and had many children together. Unfortunately, only one of those children survived. His name was Afonso Henriquez, the man of the hour and the man of our story. Afonso was born in the year 1109 and lived a very comfortable life. Ever since he was a little kid, he had a strong interest in politics and even developed some political ideas of his own. The problem was that those ideas, they were different from that of his mother's, but since the mother was the one ruling things and had all the power, he had to do what she said. Things got even worse after Teresa's husband died, leaving her to rule the county by herself and get even more radical with her ideas. As you can imagine, the tension between the two, it got even worse and they ended up hating each other. Teresa, after her husband's death, wanted to secure more power and influence over her territory, and one of the ways you could do that at the time was to marry somebody else with power. Remember that we're in the medieval era where people often married with political agendas and not for love. It's unfortunate, but that's the way things were, and Teresa, well, she went and married the most powerful count in the Kingdom of Leon. That marriage was not popular with the Portuguese nobility. In fact, the Portuguese nobility wanted nothing to do with the Kingdom of Leon. They wanted their own independence and not be subjugated to anybody else. Afonso, upon hearing rumors and stories about this, he saw an opportunity to maybe gather enough men to maybe make a change and revolt against his own mother. When he turned 14, which was the legal age at the time, he did two things. The first thing he did was that he knighted himself. Now usually you don't knight yourself, somebody else of authority has to knight you and then you become a knight, but he chose to do it himself. The second thing he did was that he went and he raised an army and declared war against his own mother. Just imagine a 14-year-old kid raising an army and declaring war against his own mother. Where else are you going to hear a story like that? And that's why you're watching Vlogs of History. And not only was he fighting his own mother in battle, he was actually winning, and it wasn't by luck either. He was a really good general and he outsmarted his own mother in battle. Just imagine how the mother must have felt when her 14-year-old kid was winning battles against her. Because of the mother's alliance with the Kingdom of Leon and the Kingdom of Galicia, Portugal could not really be an independent nation as long as the mother was in power. Luckily enough, Afonso was making huge progresses in battle, and there came a tipping point where he had more territory than his mother. What he did next was he exiled the mother out of the country and took over the rest of her lands. And here's why this is a big middle finger. A few years prior to that, the mother actually had Afonso exiled out of the country because of his different political views. She thought that if she sent him away, he might change his political views and come back a new man. Talk about things not going to plan. As you can probably imagine, getting your independence isn't simply a matter of winning some battles and then just saying I'm independent. You also have to be recognized by the neighboring countries as an independent nation and also by the church. We are in the medieval era and the church was everywhere. The church was the government. If you wanted to be independent, you had to go by the church. Afonso made many trips to Rome and even sent a lot of his ambassadors to negotiate on his behalf as the leader of Portugal and on Portugal's behalf as an independent nation. But of course, these things take a very long while. And while he was doing all of that negotiating, he turned his attention to the problem of the Moors in the south. Now, for those who don't know, the Moors were the Muslims who had taken over the territories that once belonged to the Catholics. In the medieval era, Catholics and Muslims really hated each other. That's why you had the Crusades, which were huge wars against Catholics and Muslims, and also the Spanish Reconquista, which literally means to reconquer the territory that the Muslims took over from the Catholics. This was a very smart move for Afonso. He knew that if he got rid of the Muslims in the south, he would get overwhelming support to be the first official leader of Portugal, and he was right. As you can expect, he successfully got rid of the Muslims in the south and had huge support from all of his army. Then he managed to get the church to recognize Portugal as an independent state, so the only thing left was to declare himself king and make Portugal a kingdom. And guys, that's how you make a kingdom. That's how Afonso became the first king of Portugal, and that's how Portugal was made. Thanks for watching. Alright, that was it for this week's episode of Vlogs of History. I really do hope you've enjoyed this episode, and if you did, please leave a like, share it to a friend, and subscribe to be notified when the next episode comes out. Remember, these episodes come out every single Monday, and if you've missed the previous one, click the link on your screen. If not, there's a link in the description. As always, I'm your host, Darius Cause, and it's been an absolute pleasure, and I'll see you next week.